Hey, welcome to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, it's a Friday, and we got State Senator Mary Kunesh on, and a lot going on. We were just talking before the show how much is going on here in the Twin Cities via Indian country, and can't wait for your update because, State Senator, I wasn't able to see you this weekend because we were like at different conventions and different things, but I'm looking forward to your update. Welcome, as always, State Senator Mary Kunesh.
Aho, Matakiape, everybody. It's so good to be here with you after a good week of strong Indian influence here in Minnesota.
Exactly. Wow. We won't. Well, maybe why don't we jump into this? Your sister was in town too, being one of the main speakers out in where I was in Shakopee. Maybe just remind our audience what great job your sister has right now and how she works for Indian country and the United States, for that matter.
Sure. So I have a sister. Actually, I have 5 sisters. This sister is my sister, Patrice Kunesh, and she was just recently confirmed to an appointment out in the Biden administration. She is, and I always forget her title, but she is serving as the commissioner of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Service Administration for Native Americans, and they call it ANA. And so she was just recently appointed and confirmed. Last year, she had to go through the confirmation process, and it was long and arduous. But she's she's a good fit for that position. She is an Indian law lawyer. She has worked for a number of the different tribes. She's worked for NARF, Native American Rights Fund, a number of times, and taught Indian law, started the American Indian, something at the Federal Reserve Bank. I forget what that is. So she's she's been all over the place doing really good work, and actually served at the Department of the Interior when Obama was in office, and I got to go out to the second inauguration with her and go through that whole rigmarole and gala. It was beautiful. So yeah, she is out there again, serving in that capacity, and came back here this week to speak at the conference, the national. What was it called? Do you remember what it's actually called?
I'm wearing a T-shirt right now. I got to look.
The National Congress of American Indians, and they had a mid-year convention. Mm-hmm. And it was held down in Shakopee. They were the host down there, and it was just absolutely fabulous. I went down there only for half a day because I had to speak at the Not Invisible Act committee that was here. But it was so funny because I got to the hotel in downtown Minneapolis to speak at the Not Invisible. I was on a panel there, and I walked in, and like almost immediately these 2 men said, "Oh, hi, Patrice." I said, "I'm not Patrice."
Wow.
I'm not Patrice. They had worked with her in the Obama administration. So, I mean, we are a year and a week apart in age. We don't think we look like each other, but everybody. And then we were at the convention, and people kept they'd look at me, they'd look at her. It's like, who's who, which is which.
Wow.
So, she gave a really good speech out there. I don't know if you were able to hear it, Robert, but I was late getting there, but I did hang out with her for a while down at the convention.
Yeah, it was a great speech, and I saw her the opening night too, and it was great to see her. I hadn't seen her since I was in Washington for ICWA, which is coming up, by the way. I think the end of this month.
We should talk about that too. Yep.
Yeah. But that was the last time, and then she was gracious enough to be on the show with me when I was in Washington. but yeah, it was great giving her a hug. And I just got to say this. I hope this isn't sexist, but it's like she seems like she looks younger every time I see her. Is that
Oh,
a Kunesh thing?
you will love to hear that, Robert.
I was like, wow, yeah, it's crazy. But maybe it's just that I'm getting older. I don't know. But yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, yeah,
I think she was just so excited to get out there and do this work
yeah.
that, she's just, in a good place. And that kind of shows when you're happy and you're feeling productive. I think it really shows.
Yeah, I really wanted to get out to the not visible, invisible act gathering, and I know our friend Ruth Buffalo was there too. And
Mhm.
really, just like we were saying, there's so much good stuff going on here in the Twin Cities and all over Turtle Island.
Yep. So this week they had some hearings and committee hearings that were centering around law enforcement and jurisdiction. And as the author of the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Task Force here in Minnesota,
Mm,
they invited me to speak there, and it was pretty incredible. We heard some really really hard stories
mm,
from folks here in Minnesota, but also from elsewhere. And there are a lot of good questions that were asked. And for those of you who don't know what the Not Invisible Act is, there's a commission, and Secretary Holland kind of organized it.
mhm.
And so this Not Invisible Act was signed into action in 2019, and it's the first bill in our national history to be introduced and passed by 4 U.S. Congress members that were enrolled in their tribe. So this was a bill by our
Yeah.
4 Native representatives out in Washington,
Washington.
D.C. So they're looking at the cross-jurisdictional issues that are happening around law enforcement. They're working with tribal leaders, our federal leaders, service providers. So this morning, I met up with them again at the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center that Marissa Cummings is the ED at, and they had a lot of really good questions about the work that she does for the community. And then, of course, the families and the community members. So what this commission has to do, their task is to focus, provide some recommendations. And there are 6 different subcommittees focusing on improving intergovernmental coordination and establishing best practices for the state. Looking at the tribal and federal law enforcement to bolster any resources for survivors and victims' family. They're looking at how to combat they call it an epidemic of missing persons. I call it a pandemic.
Mm,
Epidemic is sort of local, like if something went through the Twin Cities, that's an epidemic. Pandemic is global. And
right.
we know colonization is global, and
Mhm.
this is a global issue. So it's not just, local. And they're also looking at the trafficking of our American Indian people. And they've just got a lot of work. One of the most important things I think we need to do is track and report data and share that data, because we still don't have like a central data place. We also need to figure out how we can coordinate our tribe and our state and our federal government, not only in the data sharing, but addressing the violence. And so this subcommittee was here in Minneapolis. And as we said, Ruth Ann Buffalo, former state rep from North Dakota, was there. It was so good to see her.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sad I missed it. Hey, let's finish up talking about this and talk about some more here. We're with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and we'll be right back after this short break. Please stay with us. Gotcha, Haley. Oh, Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is supported by the Native American Community Development Institute in Minneapolis.
Yes, I was just there Thursday with the four sisters, and there were people from all over the country that were there checking it out because they were in town for all these meetings that are happening here in the Twin Cities. Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and we're always blessed to have a great report from you and what's going on in Indian country, but specifically what's going on as you are a state senator and all the things that you do for our community and do for our nation, meaning our tribal nation. So welcome back, State Senator.
Oh, thank you again for giving me this time and this space to talk about all the good things that we're doing in Minnesota. Did you know that former President Obama tweeted about the incredible work that Minnesota is doing? And I don't have his tweet in front of me, but it was basically, United States be like Minnesota. We did so much incredible work this last session. It's funny because I asked my assistant to go through and find all the legislation that has positive effects for Indian country in Minnesota. And he sent it. It took him over a week to do it.
Wow.
And I sent it, and I was looking at it on my phone, and I just kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through my phone like, oh my God. I mean, we'll have to do one just about that because there's so much good work. And when we were out at the conference, people kept coming up to me and saying, how did you do that? Wow, all that money, all the, education, public safety, land back. I mean, we did it all. It was pretty incredible.
This week at Shakopee, Lieutenant Governor spoke, and she was one of the keynote speakers in the beginning. And Thursday, the governor spoke, and I was getting texts from people going, "You are so blessed to have this governor as your governor because with Peggy and our legislators, all these things that have gotten done, and the things that he says now, he gets it, especially with having a lieutenant governor and working with the legislators as he does. He got a standing ovation, and Indians don't like to do that. Oh,
I know, for a white man.
yeah, exactly.
But, you have to have good leadership. Of course, you have to have good leadership. You have to have good partnership. And, the reason that we were able to do so much here in Minnesota is because first of all, during COVID, we received all those federal dollars. And so we received quite a bit of it that Republicans wouldn't agree to spend on. So it just sort of sat there for a while. And then we had a surplus. And they didn't want to spend that either. In fact, I think they thought that they were going to take the hat trick here at Minnesota and take full control of the governor's seat, the House, and the Senate. Well, it turned out to be just the opposite. The Dems are in control. So there was that surplus and some of the money left from the federal government and, just the regular thing. And so we had a lot of money to spend. And it was kind of hard. Our Republican counterparts, again, really dragged their feet and really wouldn't agree to anything unless we did what they wanted what they wanted to do. And we did our best to accommodate them. But, I alone in, just a second here. I got this little sweetie here. Here's Sweetie Reedy. I'm the chair of the Education Finance Committee. I had $5.3 billion to put towards education. $1 billion. That's the most money we have ever invested in education. And that's starting with, from age 0 all the way through community ed and adult ed, kids with disability, EL. I mean, it's just, the list went on and on and on. And we figured out a way to make everybody happy. And of course, as a past library media specialist, I was very intent on making sure that our libraries, both our school libraries and our public libraries and our multi-use libraries, got funding. And this was the most increase in, resources for libraries in the state of Minnesota in the history of Minnesota. And so all these librarians are contacting me, or wherever I go, it's like, I'm a librarian. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, I mean, it's just, I'm still kind of giddy and overwhelmed with the good work that we did.
I had somebody come up to me knowing that you're on our show and we've talked before, and she works for the public schools, is that she's going to get unemployment now. She works in the kitchen. That's a game changer, an emotional thing for somebody that works for our kids and
Yep.
does this thing. And what a game changer. And this was kind of marked, I think the governor called this the Minnesota Miracle Part 2.
Yeah. And across the nation, hourly workers in schools, so bus drivers that are contracted, or that are district, that have their own bus service, not contracted by another company. So the school bus drivers, the food people, the custodians, our paras and educational assistants, they were never eligible for unemployment, which I thought was appalling. And that was one of the things I promised when I ran for office. I promised my EAs and those folks, I'm going to get you unemployment. And we did. And we're the first in the nation. I mean, Minnesota does all these firsts, but we're the first in the nation to ensure that that our hourly workers, our school hourly workers, have access to unemployment.
Huge. And
Really
I know the story as being a young person. I had a friend that worked on the river, which is a really hard job, but it was seasonal. And they got the whole winter off and was unemployment and really made a lot of money doing that in that way.
Yeah.
So why can't well, thank you so much. I want to thank you too, because
Yeah.
it just didn't make any sense that we weren't supporting our boots on the ground.
Yep, I put aside $135 million to start this project. That was out of our education budget.
Nice.
So we took that out, made it a whole separate line item, and now the schools can draw from that because we really don't know how much it's going to cost. But having it in that separate budget line, we can be able to monitor and see which schools are using it, which are not. Are we funding it the right way? So this is really a good test, a litmus test for other states, because I have a feeling, like everything else, people are looking to Minnesota to replicate a lot of the good work we're doing.
Yeah, and, it is reminds me of the old days of the DFL party, right? The
Mhm.
Wendell Anderson, Hubert Humphrey era happening again, and it's, really exciting, that we're taking care of our people, our constituents, and, the people that need it the most.
Oh, yeah. And our kids and our teachers, oh my goodness, they need anything and everything that they can get right now. I mean, even just to show them. I mean, if nothing else, it was a sign that we see you, we hear you, we appreciate you. We can't give you the rule of 90 or, the kind of pension that we'd love to give you, but we can start with this, and it's a start. That's what it is, a start.
It is, and again, Mary, I just gotta say, I was in a restaurant and, it was a Saturday, and this person works in the kitchen at this restaurant, but also for St. Paul Public Schools, and that was the first thing she said to me. It was like, "Heck yeah."
Yep, we did it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, let's, talk about what the future brings here. Now, you're elected, so you're 4 years now, right?
Yes, our Senate in the Minnesota, our Senate is 4-year term. Then I have to get reelected for another 4-year term. Then by that time it'll be around, and then it'll be around the time that we have the census. So every 10 years. So it's a 4-year, 2-year term.
Oh.
Um, yeah, and so I don't have to get elected now for another 3 summers.
That's awesome, and I think when you were a representative, it was almost like you had to be running all the time, which is kind of obnoxious, really, right?
Yeah, that when you're in the House of Representatives, you have to go through elections every 2 years, and so
Huh.
yes, I just always felt like I was running to catch up.
What, is there any way that that can change? Because that just I mean, it goes state by state. Is that a state constitutional, change?
Yeah,
Because
that's
wow,
the way they set it up here in Minnesota. I mean, there are some. Every state is different. Like some states, they don't meet every single year. They
right.
meet once out of every other year, which is I don't know how they get anything done. But I don't know that we would change it. I think folks kind of like, other than making it maybe a full-time position, but those terms I think are kind of set.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know we have our friends like in South and North Dakota that have it totally different.
Yeah.
But wow, we got a lot done here. We're going to have another segment with State Senator Mary Kunesh. Just great news and great happenings. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is supported by Minnesota 350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Yes, they do. Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and we've been talking a lot about some really positive and cool things. I think we need to talk a little reality right now too. Like I said earlier, the last time I saw your sister was in Washington during the hearings of ICWA, and I know her being a lawyer and a tribal lawyer, she was right inside the Supreme Court listening to this, and this is coming up again, and it's kind of a frightening thing for us Native Americans that it's on the table for the Supreme Court because of what's happened in their last few decisions that have not gone in a good way.
Yeah. Yes, there is that grave concern across Indian country that the Indian Child Welfare Act will be basically, shut down, and those protections that our tribes have had to ensure that the children are not adopted outside of their tribe could go away, and that would again begin the annihilation, the genocide of our kids.
Right.
And we were talking about, well, there was a sort of a letter to the editor this week, and it came from a lawyer here in Minnesota who actually was one of the original lawyers at the ICWA Law Center here in Minnesota. It's a law center that helps families and protects and ensures that ICWA is being upheld across the state. And Shannon Smith is an incredible, director there. And I've heard her speak to this, but the author of that bill basically was saying that non-Native kids in Minnesota have greater protections in the state welfare proceedings than the Native children. And that's coming from him because we passed legislation that bolstered the Minnesota Indian Family Preservation Act here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And it basically is like a mini Minnesota ICWA bill, because we were very concerned that this federal ICWA will go away, and then the children won't have, and the counties will have more authority over what happens to our Native kids, and the tribes wouldn't.
Right.
And so that was pretty awful. And it was interesting because I was just, reading my newspaper, like I do in the morning, turn the page, and there's a picture of me and this article. And in it, he just really twists what the legislation actually did. And of course, because he wasn't involved in it, he doesn't know what's going on. And there are parts of the MIFPA bill that we didn't have 100% agreement with the county and the attorneys, but we said, let's get this much done. As much as we can, and as much as we can agree to, let's put this in place. Should ICWA go away, then at least we have these protections, and we will continue. And so there is a working group. It's made up of tribal lawyers, the county folks, the state folks, people who are experts in the field. We're continuing to look at the MIFPA bill and looking at the language and the definitions to make sure that those protections are in place. And again, many people are watching Minnesota, waiting for us to finish up this work, or at least take what we've done so far and share, create that legislation in their own state so that they too have those protections. So I worked on a response to that for the last couple of days, and Jody, and I can't, Holia, I can't pronounce her last name, lawyers, Rebecca McConkey Green. We've been in touch for the last couple of days working on a response to it. And I think the tribes will have a response as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's disheartening too that somebody that has worked with ICWA and knows the pitfalls and why ICWA came in the first place to protect not only our children but our sovereignty is now under attack. But again, Minnesota is the guiding light here, and on so many good things, uh, we want more people to move here.
Well, we also, Minnesota passed some really strong trans rights, especially for kids. And of course, our reproductive freedom bill.
Right.
And so while our Republican counterparts will say, oh, everybody's leaving the state because of our taxes and because of this and because of that, I say, go ahead and head out. But, probably for everyone, we've got 2 or 3 families coming to Minnesota so that they and their children have a safe place to live.
Right. In some of these states like Florida, parent can go to jail.
Yep.
It's insanity happening. And again, Minnesota's always had a high, standard of living here. And I think with the bills and the actions, it just really reinforces that.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to raise taxes? Who wants to charge taxes on things? None of us want to do that because we end up, also having to pay those taxes. But unfortunately, if you want nice things, you have to pay for them. You've seen what one winter does to the Minnesota roads. How are we going to keep up on that? And our lakes, our streams, our environment, they just, the federal government overturned the permit to do that mining, that nickel mining up by the boundary waters. So if we want to keep nice things, we have to pay for it.
Exactly. And that is exactly it. But I guess we can just see in the last session that our Republican relatives are really basically for nothing. They're against a lot of things, but what are their solutions? And so I think people are seeing that. And again, we always applaud people like Haley, that's the Gen Z, coming in there and knowing that these things are showing that you're not going to maybe have a house like everybody did. You're not going to live as long as we are because of what generations and not only generations but just greed have done to the environment and things like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think Gen Z, I think we definitely grew up seeing kind of the mess that, that was done to the environment and not only to the environment, but our people and our minorities. And yeah, from a Gen Z, I can sit here and say we're ready for some positive change here. And I think we're willing to do.
And get out there. I mean, state senator's frozen, so hopefully she'll come back. But gun control. I mean, these insane things that 70 and 80% of the people are for, and yet we have a voting block of NRA and people that basically are not really thinking the way we do, in the whole community. So again, welcome back, State Senator. I think one of the things we were just talking about is how you guys have been listening to the people and not the special interest, I think is what I've been trying to say here. And that makes a big deal. And again, people are watching what's happening. And again, we were talking, Haley and I, a little bit about how the Gen Zs are plugged in because of what kind of mess the boomers and the greedy people are leaving them.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to my Republican counterparts, and I encourage them to bring me really good bills in the education committee, and I would hear their bills. When I was, when I have been in the minority with the Republicans in the majority, they would never hear our bills. And I heard as many good bills as came to me, and we even included a few of the Republicans' bills in there, but the kind of the things that they want to do is not good for our people. That's like you said, a lot of the special interests. I mean, Democrats have special interests, but most of the time it's because they're going to do good things, especially our nonprofit folks who do so much of the work outside of our state government and that sort of thing. The cookies are all gone.
Oh, no cookies for grandbaby.
No cookies for Rita.
Rita, you look like you combed your hair with a firecracker.
Oh my gosh, this girl. Come here. You want to say hello to everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
she's got some pretty wild hair here. But it's just, I don't know. It used to be that Republicans and Democrats could work together and find consensus and really meet the needs of their communities. My dad was a strong Republican. He actually started the Republican caucus up in the little town that I grew up up in the St. Cloud area.
Mhm.
And but it was a different kind of Republican that were really sensitive to the needs of everybody in Minnesota. I know Republicans don't want to spend, and they are very fiscally conservative, and which is a wonderful thing to be. I mean, I myself consider myself fiscally conservative.
Mm.
But again, if we want good services, if we want good things, we have to make sure that we're paying for them and we're maintaining them. I mean, look what's happened to our schools because we haven't been doing the best. So we got to do it for the next generation and up to the next 7 generations. And
Yes.
we're starting it here.
Right on. Hey, thank you, State Senator Mary Kunesh, for all your work and the work you will be doing, and of course, stopping in and giving a great update to our listeners. Really appreciate you.
You bet. Wopilatanka, everybody. And I got to see the bison return yesterday down in Hastings. So we're bringing back the bison.
Right on. Oh, Rita. Hey,
say bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, she waved. Hey, we'll be right back with Wendy with Fun Facts Friday. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of this show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
As you could hear, there's 3 howls there, and we got Wendy with our Fun Facts Friday. Wendy, welcome to Native Roots Radio. I know you're out in New York, and it's not smelling so good out there.
Well, I just looked, and I'm going to tell you this right now. I am in Long Beach, New York. We have an air quality alert of 157, which means it's still unhealthy. However, it's better than yesterday at about the same time. So we are improving, but it's still unhealthy. So all outdoor activities at schools have been suspended. School teachers, my sister and my nephew are both home teaching remotely today. And there's no Yankee game. So there you go.
Wow. And
Yeah.
well, I appreciate you stopping in. I know there's a lot going on, and it's kind of weird. You got to stay in the house and all that. Really bad in New
We
York.
recommend you not leaving the house.
It's crazy. But hey, I want to introduce my awesome and beautiful wife, Wendy. Wendy's been an animal advocate for many years, and she's been on the show for over 7 years talking about our sacred animals and how we can protect them. And Fridays are our fun day, right, Wen?
That's right. Hey, everybody. My name is Hanajiki Hani, which means cares for them. I was given that name by my Dega Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashpe Hanajingo, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. And it's always my pleasure to do that. And I always look forward to Fridays so that we could talk about Fun Fact Friday. And I have this list here. It's called the Fact Site hashtag, and it's Science, Nature, and Animals, and it's 300 random animal facts, and it's written by Luke Ward. And we've been kind of chipping away at this list for quite a while. But what happened was I started from number 300, and I'm working my way up to number 1. So I'm not sure exactly where we left off last time. So these may be a repeat, but they're still fun to hear, even if it's for a second time.
That's
so
right.
185, there are roughly 24,000 species of butterflies. That's a lot of butterflies.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, yellowtail is the general name for loads of different species of fish that have yellow tails or yellow bodies. I could hear our cat Lucy in the background. She always wants to be on the radio when it's Fun Fact Friday. So hello, Lucy.
She approves.
Yeah, butterflies can see the colors, only see the colors, red, green, and yellow. So that would be good. So this way they know when they come up to a traffic light, they know when to go, when they can stop, and when they need to slow down, right? Red, green, and yellow. This is a kind of a gross fact. Hippos attract mates by urinating and defecating.
Okay.
That's pretty sexy. Okay. Polar bears are the world's largest land predators. I wouldn't have thought that. I thought maybe like a hippopotamus would have been, but according to this fact site here, bears are the world's largest land predators. Yeah.
Wow.
Arachnophobia is the fear of what? Do you guys know?
Spiders?
That's right. Arachnophobia is the fear of spiders. So is there a movie called Arachnophobia?
I do believe, but that's not on my list, my Netflix list.
I know, right? Here's another fun fact about butterflies. They have their skeletons on the outside of their bodies. This is known as exoskeletons. Dogs are about as smart as a 2 or 3-year-old child.
Oh, I always thought it was older.
Well, I know Wanda, our dog Wanda, is probably like a 7-year-olds. But yeah,
Yeah.
dogs are about as smart as a 2 or 3-year-old child. That's pretty smart. That's pretty smart. Yeah. Shark corneas are being used in human eye transplants. Ew.
Jeez.
I don't think I like that, but yeah, we'll save that for another time. A cheetah lifespan is up to, how many years do you think in the wild? A cheetah. How long do you think a cheetah lives in the wild?
Well, they're
Robert, do you have any idea?
They're fast, so I'd say 12 years.
Hey, you are exactly right.
Really?
12 years.
God.
A cheetah's lifespan is up to 12 years in the wild. Good
Wow.
guess.
One in a row. What do I win?
I don't know. We'll have to see. A duck's quack does echo. It's just almost impossible to hear.
Huh. Is that like when a tree falls in the forest? No, I don't know.
Can you hear a tree fall in the forest if nobody's there? Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
Barn owls hunt mostly small mammals such as short-haired voles. V-O-L-E. You know what a vole is?
No.
Neither do I. Let's see if I could look it up really quick. It's probably some type of a, say like what are those animals that go underneath the ground?
Moles?
Yeah, is a mole next to a vole?
I don't know.
Oh my God, it's cute. Voles are small rodents that are relatives of lemmings and hamsters.
Wow.
But it's got a shorter body and longer hairy tail and slightly rounder head. Yeah, it looks like a little mouse. Very cute. So that's a vole.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Listen to this, Robert. You'll be happy to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
Cat owners are 30% less likely to suffer a heart attack.
Wow.
Except if your cat is Lucy.
Yeah. Lucy's stressing us out.
She is stressing us out.
She's not a mellow. She's not a mellow cat. She meows and startles us.
She shocks us sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when you're sound asleep, she comes right into your face. Like her nose touches your nose and she meows really, really loud.
Jeez.
Okay, so here's another cat fact. Cats have over 100 vocal sounds, while dogs only have about 10.
Huh.
Yeah, so they have more vocal sounds. Here we
believe.
go. Dogs have a wet nose to collect more of the tiny droplets of smelly chemicals in the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought it was like a health issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Baby whales can gain up to 200 pounds a day.
Huh.
That's crazy. That's like your whole body, Robert,
Yeah.
plus a couple of extra pounds.
Exactly.
More than 45 million turkeys are cooked and eaten in the U.S. at Thanksgiving.
How many?
Well, 45 million turkeys are cooked and eaten in the U.S. at Thanksgiving. To me, that's a horrible fact because I'm vegan and I don't eat any animals or animal products because I love animals. So to me, if I say I love animals, it's because I love all animals. And if you love something, you don't eat it. So that's.
Well, we haven't had a turkey for Thanksgiving Day in probably 15 years, 14 years.
Yeah, probably close to that. Yep. And I don't miss it. But here we go. Here's some more fun facts.
We got only time for like one more.
Okay, here we go. Some dogs can smell dead bodies underwater.
Whoa.
So that's good if they're looking for like a corpse or somebody's body. So there you go. That's Fun Fact Friday. Everybody have a great weekend and stay safe.
Right on. And you'll be hearing Wendy live next week on her regular scheduled day. You're listening, and I appreciate you, Wendy. So, hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance from Chief Plenty Coops. The ground on which we stand on is sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard's Health Tier.
Now.
Now.
Laying high on the